churches called that. Where did they get that from? They didn't get it from the Bible. There's no cross-point church in the Bible. There's no cross-point concept in the Bible. And it all has to do with cross-point or center point, where the four are coming together. Remember, the initiate has mastered the power of the four. Do you remember Ted Turner put out a cartoon back in the 80s called Captain Planet? Okay? And Captain Planet was always summoned by these kids with these little powers, and they brought earth, air, fire, water together. And out of the earth rose up the Savior of the earth, Captain Planet. He's going to save the earth from these evil men who are trying to make money on the earth. Okay, that's what anyway, that's where Ted Turner got the idea from. It's the four coming together. Manly Hall talks about the pentagram. The pentagram is basically the four coming together and a fifth one rising out of it called ether or spirit. There was a movie called The Fifth Element, Bruce Willis. And it was about that idea that the whole earth is going to be saved by a fifth element or spirit. And so here you have at the cross point in the United Nations logo in the center, you have a fifth something another coming out. So I want you to notice this. 32 sections and one section in the center. What is that? That's 33. The Japanese flag. The Japanese, remember, the sun god was worshipped everywhere in the world. Just different names, different titles. They worshipped his rising and his setting. When he rises, he's born. When it sets, he dies. He has to go into the underworld, and he is going to rise again. They all worship the sun god in the exact same way. Not only the rising in the east and the west, but the rising from south to north, from the winter solstice to the summer solstice. And the Japanese were no different. They worship the sun god. And in fact, the emperor of Japan. Japan is still one of the few nations in the world that still has a king, an emperor. And the emperor of Japan is the sun god. And their flag, it was their old flag, but I think the Navy still flies this kind of flag. Notice we had, if you count, you have 32 rays that are coming out of the sun, and you have the sun itself in the center, or the focal point, or the center point. That's the number 33. We've seen that before. The Jesuit logo. The Jesuits. You know, these holy clerical men that are trying to educate people all throughout the world and teach them Jesus Christ, right? No. The Jesuits have been and always shall be the spy agency and the military arm of the Vatican. They have their own pope, by the way. He's the Black Pope. And they answer to him, buddy. They don't do what anybody else says except the Black Pope. Ignatius de Loyola ransacked earth religions, brought in all these occult practices, mysticism, chanting, contemplative prayer. That's in the churches right now. Ignatian contemplation is named after him. And he taught his priests to use the powers of the occult to empower them so that they could go out and conquer the world. And so in the Jesuit logo, see the cross? See that? It's there. And then you have the rays coming out of the sun here. Guess how many of them there are? There's 32 of them. And the sun is the 33rd part in the center. Notice the cross. And you have the letters IHS. Now, again, the Catholic Church says, well, that simply is the first three letters of Jesus in the Greek language. No, it's not. It's not. Or some would say that means in his service. Really? Whose? Now remember, Albert says, if we tell you what it means, we're lying. It's not really what it means. We actually have another meaning. It actually references a phrase called in hoc signo, which means in this sign. I want you to go back and look at the Jesuit logo. In this sign. And then there's a word, vinces, which means conquer. In this sign, conquer. Do you know how the Roman Catholic Church got started? Emperor Constantine, the sun god, was going out to battle, was going to lose, and he saw a sign in the heavens. And it looked like a cross, but it wasn't really. And he thought, well, maybe that's Jesus. And he saw the sign in heaven, and he saw letters in heaven that said, "In hoc signo vinces," which means, "In this sign, conquer." And so Constantine said, we're going to call ourselves Christians. Everybody now in Rome is a Christian. And that's how it happened. That's the beginning of the Roman Catholic Church. But they use this logo, "In hoc signo vinces." By the way, the Masons use the same logo. Same idea, same concept. 4 words. Principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. But anyway, that's what that represents. It's in the Bible, by the way. These 32 rays, or these 32 lines coming out, the United Nations logo, the Japanese flag, the Vatican, the Jesuit logo, it's actually in the Bible. And you have one in the middle. Notice, and we've talked about this before, but look at this. 1 Kings chapter 20, verse 1. "And Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his hosts together, and there were 32 kings with him, and horses and chariots, and he went up and besieged Samaria and warred against it, and sent messengers to Ahab, king of Israel, into the city, and said unto him, Thus saith Ben-Hadad, Thy silver and thy gold is mine, thy wives also and thy children, even the goodliest are mine." Stop right here. If there was ever a spirit that characterized the United Nations, it's 1 Kings chapter 20, verses 1 through 3. Here we have one king in the middle, and we have 32 kings with him that he has gathered together, united together, because we're going to bring peace to the world, even if we have to kill everybody to do it. And oh, by the way, the United Nations thinks that all the money should be theirs. All the gold should be theirs. All the women, all the children. UNICEF is about the United Nations Rights of Children Declaration is all about the children. The United Nations basically says, these poor parents in the world, they don't know how to raise children. We're going to take over. If there was ever a spirit behind the United Nations, you see it right here in the Scriptures. They're going to own everything. And even down to the number. 32 kings with the 33rd in the middle. That's the United Nations right there. That number 33, you see it? Here it is. Here it is. Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. Okay? Remember, we have the fusion. We have basically the same logo. It just looks different. We have the number 33. We have a crown. And we have a fusion together. And it's about ordo ab chaos, which means out of chaos. You know what chaos? You know what the word chaos came from? It's the Greek word for the abyss or the pit. So literally it means out of the pit comes order. The beast rose up out of the pit. So the United Nations logo. You have 32 sections which encompass the entire world, centered around a 33rd point. Now, here's what really got me going with this. Because I looked at it, like I say, it was on a Saturday, and I went, I get it. I understand now. And my understanding came not as a result of me reading 4,000 occult books. My understanding came as a result of just reading and believing every word of God is pure. I just believe the Bible's pure, and I believe it's right, and I believe that this Bible says things that they will never say. It's going to reveal secrets. He said, what are you getting at, Pastor? I want you to look at, just kind of look at the map here. You can see South America, you can see North America, you can see Africa and Europe and Australia and Japan and China and Russia. And I want you to notice that the 33rd part of this map, the center point of the United Nations logo, what part of the earth is that? It's the North Pole. It's the center point. Now why, you're saying, yeah, so what? Let me kind of do a little explanation here for you, then we're going to get into the Scriptures, all right? you know how the North Pole is determined? It's determined because there is a magnetic field in the earth. What causes the earth's magnetism, called gravity? What causes that? It's the fact that at the center of the earth is a gigantic, great big molten ball of iron. Iron Kingdom. You think about that. Okay? And in Daniel 7, Revelation 13, Revelation 17, Daniel's 4th, what do? They rise up. That's how, you have a compass, and it's based upon the fact that magnetism makes that there is a pole on the earth called the North Pole. It's called magnetic north. And the United Nations logo is centered specifically upon this particular point. And it's done that way for a reason. There's even a star. This is like only God can do this. Okay? Only God can make the universe in such beautiful harmony and fashion as it is. By the way, God is the one who created the winter solstice, summer solstice. He created all of those things. They are for signs and they're for 4 things: signs, seasons, days, and years. And He did it on the 4th day. Okay, just saying. So anyway, but even only God can do this. The magnetic North Pole of the Earth points directly at one particular star in the whole universe, and it's called Polaris, which means the North Star. And this is an awesome picture of it. If you look right in the middle here, there's a star just sitting there. This is a nighttime photography, and what they have to do is take the camera, point it up at the sky, and they open the shutter. That's why all the stars look like they made lines, is because the shutter is open the whole time that the stars moved in a circle. And they all moved in a circle around one particular star. It's the North Star. Okay, so we have a magnetic north and we have the North Star, Polaris. Stars are like pictures of angels in the Bible. And here's where it gets interesting. You're going to like this. We have the North Star, and swimming around the North Star, right up next to it, they have these constellations. And I always heard when I was a kid, if you go out and the ancient man would look up in the sky, and they would say, "Oh, look, those stars, that looks like a Leo. That's a lion." And I used to go out there and I'd go, "That does not look like a lion to me." It doesn't. It doesn't look. I don't know where they got that. "Oh, look, a woman holding a set of scales." And I would go, now the Big Dipper, I get that one. That looks like a Big Dipper. But the rest of them, I don't know where they got it from. The occult world or whatever. But anyway, we have the star, and we have 2 particular constellations that are right here at the north, and they go around the North Star. One of them is called Ursa Major, okay, or Arcturus. We'll find out about that in a minute. The other one is, Ursa Major is a bear, by the way. The other one is called Draco. He's the dragon. Think about that. Who is the dragon? It's Lucifer. Now, we're talking about the United Nations logo and the powers of the North, represented by the North. So here we have the dragon at the North, who is the ultimate power behind this. Revelation 13, verse 1. "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a," look at there, "a bear. And his mouth is the mouth of a lion." And notice this, "And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." Powers, principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. Daniel says the Antichrist is going to be the god of forces. Earth, air, fire, and water. That's what that represents. He's going to give him his power, his seat, which means he's in